Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Rich. I managed to get Sashwath in. He came into town to do some work and I pulled him in to do a video with us. So you could have him here to offer some insight into the book he's reading. And I thought it's a wonderful book. That it's a very big book. You need a lot of motivation to read it.
So comparison with my face and
correct. It's pretty much like a Bible. So it takes a lot of doing to read it. And if you're a big fan of Warren Buffett, it's a must read, I would say. And I thought Sashwath can dive into it right away.
Yeah. So the book is called The Snowball by Alice Schroeder, and she's basically written about Warren Buffett, and she was a close acquaintance, or I should say friend of Warren Buffett. And she writes about things which we as investors do not really know much about Warren Buffett. So these are things which you wouldn't have guessed. These are things which you don't have access to because he's quite a private individual, regardless of how many times people talk about him. People talk about him, but that doesn't mean he's a very public individual. He remains quite elusive to most of us. However, reading this book will basically decode who the man is, who the man was, and who the man will likely be. And spoiler alert, Warren Buffett is a creature of habit. Even though he doesn't like being called a creature of habit, he's a creature of habit. So is Charlie Munger. And if you read this book, it's as if you know what Warren Buffett is going to do in 10 years, in 1 year, in 1 month, in the next day. And you'll also know what he did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. And well, maybe not 10 years ago because the book was released in 2008. But the idea is that he's a creature of habit. And once you read this book, you'll have a good idea of who the man is. And like the title suggests, the metaphor of the snowball is what you can use to analyze, is a lens you can use to analyze Warren Buffett's life. So Warren Buffett's life started off with a pretty privileged background. He's a white male individual who's born in the US during the great boom of the United States. Post World War II was when he really became an adult, and you can see the advantage conferred upon him and Charlie Munger, his partner. And he got into maturity during the heyday of the US, and he made a lot of money through the stock market, and he understood money like no one else did. And all this combined together basically made sure that his success was guaranteed. So, however, this book talks about how his life is like a snowball. And snowball, most of you think a small ball of snow. That's pretty much what you imagine. But the property of what makes a snowball very interesting is that you can keep expanding it. As you keep rolling the ball, you basically have a larger and larger and larger sized object until it becomes an overwhelming force. And that's how the book opens with. That's the metaphor the book opens with as well. And if you look at Warren Buffett's entire motto, which is compounding, that's what compounding is. You start with this small snowflake, and you keep adding momentum, adding momentum, adding momentum, and exponentially speaking, you finally end up with this huge, massive chunk of money or capital, which now you're earning a return on, and you're still compounding. And that's what Warren Buffett is doing, which is why Berkshire Hathaway today is trading at how many ever thousands of dollars, when he initially bought Berkshire Hathaway for $7.50 each. And he was upset that the guy who was managing Berkshire Hathaway then tried to scam him by 25 cents. And he ended up buying the entire company. So that you can look at that as your basic metaphor for how compounding works. And this book talks about how Warren Buffett is compounded, gives you an inside view into the kind of man Warren Buffett is, the kind of habits he has. And most of you imagine that Warren Buffett is not a big spendthrift, which is true. He has peculiar spending habits. Certain places he does save. There's no denying that. But he's also splurged on a private jet. Well, he hasn't personally bought the private jet, but there's something called fractional jet ownership, where Warren Buffett is a fractional owner of a fleet of jets. So that's a place where Warren Buffett splurges. Warren Buffett splurges by going into once a year family vacations on his private jet and top of the line food which he eats. So the myth that Warren Buffett, the man today, doesn't spend is completely baseless. But however, Warren Buffett, the young man, was extremely frugal. He was extremely spendthrift, and even to this day, Warren Buffett spends on only things which he can afford to spend on. So don't take this as an idea saying that, okay, Warren Buffett is spending on private jet, then maybe I can spend on I don't know, the latest iPhone 15 when you already have an iPhone 14. Well, actually, there's something I wanted to tell you about. So I recently heard the story of, for anonymity reasons, in case my friend ends up watching this video, someone had an iPhone 14 which they traded in and bought an iPhone 15 because the iPhone 15 was launched, and the iPhone 14 was launched last year, right?
Yes.
I didn't see any purpose to doing that.
There's no difference between the 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
Even Steve Jobs' daughter has come on saying that.
So I'm sure the trading
unless you're doing, the only reason you should buy the 15, and if you buy the 15, it has to be 15 Pro Max, is for that lens, so you can shoot cinematic video in raw format, lossless in log, and if you're into that. If you're doing some vlog, you don't need it. And you're absolutely right.
So that's something I came across very recently.
So what is the story with the anecdote? I mean, so he or she went and...
Yeah, well, not him, but or not her, but their parent basically had an iPhone 14, decided that they'll give the iPhone 14, that they'll get an upgrade without trading the phone in. And my friend has had the fortune of getting a hand-me-down of an iPhone 14. I couldn't imagine hearing that sentence last year, considering it's a new... You wouldn't imagine a hand-me-down being an iPhone 14, which is top-of-the-line, cream-of-the-crop model. So that's something which...
he famously said, no, if you buy things you don't need, you'll end up selling things you do need.
So that's something which happened very recently. And I found that fascinating to imagine that an iPhone 14, which is just a few months old, can be considered a hand-me-down. But regardless...
I'm sure a lot of husbands feel it.
So, but regardless, don't do stuff like that. If you're watching this channel, I'm sure you don't. But maybe a word of advice to people who you're friends with and people who you know as well. Make sure that they don't fall into that trap. But the idea here is that Warren Buffett can afford to fall into that trap because to him, it's not a trap. He's spending maybe 1% of his 0.5%, 0.1%.
That's where the trick is.
Yes.
If you see him buying a jet plane, but if you consider it to the amount of money he has, it's nothing.
Exactly.
It's like you buying a candy.
Yeah. And if your net worth is 1 lakh, that's the equivalent of Warren Buffett spending maybe 1,000 rupees or like less than that, 100 rupees, 0.1%. So 10% of 1,000 is what he's spending. And that's fine. That's fair enough. I think if you have $100 billion in cash, you're allowed to splurge on things like that. But the idea with reading this book is not to learn from Warren Buffett on how to splurge, but it's to learn about how Warren Buffett approaches the market. And just in the first few chapters, I guess the first, there was a famous speech. There's this conference known as the Sun Valley Conference. And there's a famous speech which he talks about where in the speech, he says, in the short run, the market is a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine. Weight counts eventually, but votes count in the short term. And it's a very undemocratic way of voting. Unfortunately, they have no literacy tests in terms of voting calculations, as you've all learned. And this is what he said. And another, so there's this portion in the speech at Sun Valley, which he says, there are some things you just can't explain. There are some things you have to feel for yourself. It's like the old Zen saying, right? It's saying that I can talk about enlightenment as long as you want, but the idea is you have to feel it for yourself.
Yes, sometimes you have to stop being a consultant and start doing the doing.
Yeah.
As your grandfather would say.
Yes. And
you can't live your life as a consultant.
And he
participate.
Exactly. And he talks about this in the sense that people will keep telling you that, hey, the market's going up. Hey, the market's going up. I can keep telling you that, yes, you have to be careful because interest rates are rising. And you have to be careful because inflation rates haven't cooled down yet. And you have to be careful because we've seen this before. We've been here before. And interest rate cycles keep happening every 25 years. These are words and pictures. However, words and pictures fall short. You have to experience a market correction, which is what Warren Buffett talks about in this book. So I hope all of you are prepared to experience such a market correction in order to be able to purchase some more stocks and make some more money, like how Warren Buffett did through all the crashes which he's seen through his lifetime. He made a killing during the 2008 crash, which is not part of the scope of this book, I guess. But he made a killing then. He executed phenomenal deals. And
the most famous is the recent Japan one.
Yeah, the recent Japan one, that wasn't even a crash per se. It was, he basically
they needed someone they could trust to do some work for them.
Yeah.
He was a conduit and he made money for it.
Yes. So that's something which you have to learn from this book. And this book is basically a biography of Warren Buffett, endorsed by Warren Buffett. Definitely a must read. It has information about Charlie Munger as well. And it talks about how Charlie Munger's personality and Warren Buffett's personality is such that wherever they go, they just pick up newspapers or pick up magazines or pick up something and just continue reading. So if there's any takeaway from this video, whether it's you want to read this book or whether you want to read something online, be it your Economic Times, Business Standard or something, the point is that you keep reading, because the idea is that you're maximizing your surface area for luck. So it's like having a cricket bat which is the size of a baseball bat versus having a cricket bat which basically is the surface area of, I don't know, this entire table.
Do you know when he bought his first smartphone?
When did he buy a smartphone? I don't know when he bought his first smartphone.
2020.
What? Well, there you have it.
Till then he was using a flip phone.
Yeah, he was famous
$20 phone.
Yeah, he was famous for using.
So he bought his first smartphone in 2020.
But does he use it himself or does he make someone else?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has a phone on him.
Yeah. But I don't think he
uses Instagram.
I'm sure
or Facebook.
Someone must have pushed him to upgrade to a
There
smartphone.
wouldn't have been a choice.
Yeah, exactly. Because the cell phone carrier or whatever,
They wouldn't have been able to
service a button phone anymore.
Correct.
So, yeah. The point here is that even when he upgraded to one, it was out of pure necessity. And that being said, we're not advising everyone to be frugal monks.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
He likes being like that. The point of the story is that you can make extraordinary wealth, but doesn't mean you have to sell your soul.
Yes.
Wealth is separate from money. Wealth is having a fulfilling life where you achieve things you want to achieve. Whatever you wish to achieve in life, you go about doing it. And that is the freedom money can give you. Money is not going to make you happy. Happiness is something that comes from you. And Warren has illustrated that by spending only $3 for breakfast, driving an old car. You know, he famously bought his house in 1970s for $30,000, and it's now only recently valued at $1 million. Before that, it was stuck at $300,000. A guy who has billions of dollars. So he has money, but that's not going to make you happy. Happiness is having the freedom to do what you wish, what you like to do. It's not having possessions.
Yes.
And that he demonstrates beautifully. I would say the biggest takeaway from this book is him and Charlie are over and over again demonstrating that having possessions is not going to give you a sense of happiness, a sense of fulfillment, or even a sense of wealth, having possessions. And he's gone and he's tried to tell this to his own family over and over again. The more you read about what he did for his children, what he did for his own sister, it's proof of pudding that he doesn't believe money is going to solve all your problems. A lot of people think if you have money, all your problems, the issues are sorted. You're going to become happy. Happiness is not that. Happiness is about having good relationships, right? And having good health. I would say these are two most important things. To living a fulfilling, happy life is having good relationships, friendships, personal relationships, and having good health. He doesn't famously drink or smoke or do anything.
But he does have McDonald's and Coke.
Yeah. Everyone has a little bit of a vice. You've got to enjoy life a little bit.
Yes. And his private jet splurging is also part of enjoying life. The funny thing is he actually has 5 homes.
Yeah.
Not just one. So there are some common narratives which you think you know about Warren Buffett. But as soon as you start perusing through this book, you'll realize that certain things you thought you knew about him, you didn't really know.
No, even his vacation home, which he went and bought, he took a loan against it and took that money and invested it and did something else with it. Because he doesn't like spending. Yeah. I mean, he spends because he has to. And people put pressure on him to do something.
Yes.
Saying you cannot go doing this. You have to, it's time that you move on, like buying the smartphone.
Yeah.
He just doesn't like spending. And not all of us can be like that.
But there's one promising note which I found from this book, which was that even people who like to yap a lot, like us, have some sense of success. Because a big theme of this book is talking about how Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger like to yap.
Yeah.
And so there's still hope for some of us.
You can imagine how this world would be if Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett
Did not yap.
No, imagine them when YouTube started. They were that age, you know. Imagine them being in their 20s and they started a channel. Imagine the amount of videos we would be having of Warren and Charlie sitting and yapping. Anyway, that was an interesting conversation. I do highly recommend that you get your hands on this book. This is Sashwath's copy. It's seen sometimes. It's a wonderful copy because it speaks volumes about the history of Warren and also the book.
This is actually my uncle's copy, which hand-me-down.
Well, I don't consider it a hand-me-down. I would say Mama's gifted it to you.
Yeah.
This is a kind of a true gift. You know, this kind of gift is irreplaceable.
There's even some
Pages which are coming out.
No.
I mean, the notes?
Yeah, there's notes.
Yeah.
Notes on Reliance Energy, a sheet of Reliance Energy, and it says a Dhirubhai Ambani enterprise. And by the quality of the sheet, you can see how old it is with the paper stains on it. So you can just imagine the kind of time,
No, I'm sure people are pausing the video and trying to see what's written on it.
I can't make out the handwriting, so I don't know how you're going to make out the handwriting.
Yeah. So do get this book. Do try and read it. It's quite a big book. Something you can take time digesting, I would say.
It's
There's
very
no rush.
approachable.
Yeah, it's not a kind of book which you want to rush through and get it over in a week or a month. I would say you can spend a year reading this book, and it's a wonderful book you can keep coming back to.
Maybe you want to end on this quote.
Life is like a snowball. The important thing is finding wet snow and a really long hill. Because you know all what happens to a snowball that goes down a hill.
Yes.
And if you don't know, I suggest you Google it. There's enough cartoons where you can see what happens to a huge, small snowball when it rolls down a hill.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching the video today. I hope you found it informative and entertaining. It was nice to have Sashwath with me in the studio. I did try not to interrupt him as much as I would have liked to, since I wanted him to have a lot of time to talk about what he was reading with you guys directly without me interfering. So in the next conversation, I will try and participate some more. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you.
I will be in Kuwait, as you know, on 24th November, the Friday between 3:30 and 6:30 p.m. I am at the Yaqub Banquet Hall, Millennium Hotel and Convention Center, Ring Road, Abu Tar Al Ghafari Street, Kuwait. Those desirous of meeting me there can contact the WhatsApp number given below or drop a mail at the email ID given. My team will contact you at the earliest. It's a great privilege and honor that so many of you in thousands have subscribed to my channel and have supported me. I have written 2 books in English, The Alchemy of Money and Ordinary Stocks, Extraordinary Profits. These books are published by us and are ready. If you want to procure a copy, send us a message to the WhatsApp number given below and my team would respond to you. If you want an Amazon Kindle copy, you can click the link below. Finally, those who wish to consult with me can send a mail to berichenglish@gmail.com. Once again, I thank you for your support. If you like this video, press the subscribe button of my channel, hit the like button and turn on the bell notification.